everyone, welcome to our cooking video today. We are going to be talking about Thanksgiving side dishes. Today's going to be a little bit different. With the heightened spread of coronavirus, we're going to make sure that we're social distancing in the video as best we can, but still delivering good content where you can hear us. So if we're both needing to talk, we're going to try to stand 6 feet apart. And then as we cook, we're going to pull up our masks and hopefully you'll still be able to understand us. We really apologize, but it's easier for us to do the videos together, so we didn't want to just one of us do it, and we didn't want to just mix it all together because we feel like it's quality content. So please just bear with us during this. And if there's something you can't hear that we've said, if you just comment below, we'll try to clarify for you. So let's get started. So we will go ahead and first go over our menu. We're going to be doing today, we're going to make some balsamic Brussels sprouts, some mashed potatoes, which seems easy, but I think a lot of people don't know how to make them without milk or cream or sour cream or butter or whatever you traditionally put in them. So we're going to show you how to do that today. We're going to be making stuffing sweet potatoes. And we're going to show you how to make a chickenless bouillon base. So we are going to put that in our mashed potatoes as a flavor. And then, sorry, Christina's dogs are getting mad. And then we are going to make a creamy mushroom gravy. And we're going to use that to put into our green beans to make a green bean casserole. And then we are going to make a quinoa cornbread. Did I get everything?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Christina, what did you want to start with?
I think let's go ahead and start with our cornbread, since that's going to take a little bit longer to make.
Okay.
And then we can go ahead and do the bouillon base, and we can do the green bean or the mushroom gravy to do the green bean casserole. Okay. And I'm so sorry about the dogs, but she'll calm down in a second.
Dogs, mask, we'll still make it work. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've done a few things to prep ahead of time just to make things easier on camera. We have went ahead and blended up some oats for our cornbread. We have dates soaking in some almond milk to soften them, and those are going to soften for about 15 minutes. And then we're going to blend them. So these are things that you want to think about whenever you're doing your recipes, especially if you're doing a big Thanksgiving meal prep and you're not just making one dish. Make sure you're reading through your recipes and doing things ahead of time so you're not stuck at a point and waiting for your dates to soak for 15 minutes. So those are just some things we did. We went ahead and did some chopping. But do you have our recipe for the cornbread? Yeah, for the cornbread. And we will post, some of these are from books, so we are going to have to just give you the recipe and tell you where we got it from. But then some of them, like the stuffing sweet potatoes, do have links, like the Forks Over Knives website, that we can provide you. So we will provide as much information as we can down below.
Okay. So, we did already prep our oats. We went ahead and blended those to make them more of a flour.
Here.
Yes.
So what we did was we took a half a cup of old-fashioned oats and just blended those, and so they're in the bowl now. And then we preheated our oven to 350 degrees. And our milk and dates are soaking. It's been about 15 minutes, so we should be able to blend those soon. And then we are going to...
We went ahead and prepped our quinoa, because the recipe says dry, but you go ahead and cook your quinoa. So we went ahead and did that. So it's ready to go.
Okay, so we are going to add to our rolled oats 1.5 cups of cornmeal, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda, and that's all for the dry ingredients. So we will add all that. I'm just adding in the cornmeal. And the baking soda is over there. Oh, sorry. No, you're fine. There you go. 3/4 teaspoon. our whisk, and I'm just gonna mix it all together. And then I'm going to, oh, you're right. I'm gonna go ahead and just blend up the dates in the milk now. This is 3 ounces of pitted dates, and we use Medjool. So we did 5, or did we do 6?
We ended up doing 6.
We did 6 of those. And then we added 1 1/4 cups of unsweetened almond milk. You could use soy milk, cashew milk, oat milk, anything you want. We're just gonna blend that up. Into our bowl with the dry ingredients, and we're also going to add the cooked quinoa and the corn.
While Jill's doing that, we went ahead and boiled our potatoes for the mashed potatoes. They're ready, so I'm gonna go ahead and dump them in here.
Was the quinoa the exact amount, or do I need to order, or to measure?
Yeah, it was the exact amount.
Okay, so we're just gonna pour that in. And our corn. And we're gonna mix it up until all of the dry ingredients disappear. And that was a 1/2 cup of corn. We just used frozen corn. And it was a 1/2 cup of dry quinoa before we cooked it.
This is honestly a really simple recipe. We had most of the stuff on hand. I think really the biggest thing we needed was the dates. But everything else we had in our kitchens just from needing it for other recipes. They're kind of your pantry staples for whole food plant-based. So,
and I know before I got into whole food plant-based cooking, things like soaking dates and then blending them was intimidating to me for some reason. I don't know why, because it's so simple. But so I encourage you just to look at the recipes and not get intimidated by things that you're not used to doing. But it's not too thick.
you could always add a little milk if you
Yeah,
want.
I think we're gonna add a little bit of milk. It just looks a little bit thick, so just.
And remember, with any of these recipes, if you don't like the consistency or just something seems off or you want to add more flavors, always do that, you know. And you don't have to stick directly to the recipes. I found that if you add a little more of something or you're not precise with it, it turns out so much better.
Yeah, you have to think about your taste whenever you look at the recipes. And if you know that there's something in it that you don't like, or it's missing something that you think would make it taste better, just feel free to experiment. Every time I think I have it.
There's some more dry ingredients.
Okay, there we go.
So
So,
now I think we're just gonna put it in this pan. It does recommend to line the pan with parchment paper, just to keep it from sticking without using oil, but I didn't have any in my pantry, so we're just gonna go ahead and stick it in there, and hopefully we can still cut it out. Okay.
and this is an 8x8 pan.
Sorry. No, you're fine. Okay, so now we're just gonna go ahead and bake it for 35 minutes. It's a very difficult word for me.
I know, like, it's weird. It's like a word that I read, but I don't ever really say out loud.
Yeah.
So I struggle with it every time.
And I'm really excited for this because I think there's so many ways you could use this, especially with your Thanksgiving cooking.
I'm just gonna burn some of this stuff while you do that.
Oh, I'm gonna slide this board where you chop your onions and mushrooms. Okay, and we were getting this out of another one of our plant-based cookbooks, so we'll definitely make sure that we post this so you can see where we got it. Okay. So, and just to add, we're cooking without salt. But if you're trying to cook a Thanksgiving meal that's healthier for people that aren't used to plant-based eating, then you can feel free to add a little bit of salt to these recipes to make them more appealing to the average person's taste buds. And by doing that, you may be able to convert more people. So we're going to start with 2 cups of nutritional yeast. And then 2 tablespoons of onion. Okay, so on the bouillon base, we started with the 2 cups of nutritional yeast, and then we added 2 tablespoons onion powder, a tablespoon Italian seasoning, 2 teaspoons garlic powder, a teaspoon ground turmeric, 1 teaspoon celery salt, and a teaspoon dried thyme. And then we just went ahead and blended that in the blender to get it a nice good consistency there. And then it just says to use 1 tablespoon per cup of water if you're going to use it for a soup base or something like that. So I'm going to set it to the side because we're going to use this for our mashed potatoes, and I think we might even use it for our green bean casserole. So I'm just going to set it to the side so we can use it here in a little bit. Jill went ahead and started on the stuffing sweet potatoes. It was a half a cup of chopped onions and a half a cup of chopped celery stalks, which we went ahead and just got the pre-cut at H-E-B just to make our lives a little bit easier. Threw that in there with some garlic, which is a great immune booster, and then our Baby Bella mushrooms. So we're gonna let that soften for a little bit, and then we'll add some more stuff in there. And we're gonna go ahead and start on our mushroom gravy, since we're also gonna put that in our green bean casserole. All right. So,
Sorry about that. Our camera shuts off after 12 minutes and we get going and then we don't realize, and so it cut off a bunch of what we had just recorded. So that's why we did the brief little rundown.
So our gravy is also coming from the same book that the chickenless bouillon base came from, okay? So Jill's working on that. Let me see where to get started on the gravy. Okay. So we're going to do the same thing that she's doing for the stuffing for the sweet potatoes to start our gravy. We're going to start with, we did shiitake mushrooms and portobello mushrooms, went ahead and diced them up, so I pre-chopped them. I'm going to go ahead and put them in our pan. We're not going to use oil like Jill mentioned with the stuffing, so we're just going to use some water and add throughout to make sure it's not sticking.
Which I actually don't know if you guys heard that part, it might have been cut off. The celery and onions and mushrooms, we're just adding 1 to 2 tablespoons of water at a time and then watching that cook so that we're making sure it's not burning on the bottom. But we also don't add too much at a time because we don't want to make it too mushy and oversaturated. So we're just going to watch and make sure that we're not letting it stick. And so while that's cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and cut these potatoes, or not these potatoes, these ones are for mashed potatoes.
Yes.
I'm gonna go ahead and cut our sweet potatoes. So I'm gonna cut them in half lengthwise, and then I'm gonna score around the potato and leave about 1/4 of an inch of shell because we're gonna be stuffing it. And then I'm going to make about 1/2 inch cubes and then scoop those out. And just a side note, ideally, you do not want to be cooking in a mask, touching your face, moving it around, then touching your food, because you can spread germs that way. But like I said, we kind of have to do what we need to do for the videos, and we're not going to be serving our food, so.
Gotta be safe in these weird times.
And so I did not pick out these sweet potatoes. I am a huge fan of H-E-B Curbside, so that's what I did. Ideally, instead of these long, thin ones like this, it's a little bit harder to scoop it out and stuff. So you really want to find the ones that are thicker, like this.
About with the mushroom gravy is that there are so many recipes for a mushroom gravy. So it's kind of like if you've watched some of our other videos before with like the condiments and things like that. If you don't like the way one tastes, switch it up, find another one. Or look through the ingredients. If you're like, that just doesn't sound good to me, find another one. The mushroom gravy we're using is in the cookbook I just showed you, but the other cookbook that we got the quinoa cornbread from also has a mushroom gravy. So definitely look around, see what sounds good, and don't give up if you have one and you're like, that just wasn't what I was expecting.
Also, another thing that I will add regarding Thanksgiving and maybe your expectations or trying to serve somebody else a dish, you have to kind of evaluate yourself and evaluate your audience. I'm the type of person that I don't mind swapping out a healthier dish for a traditional dish. I don't really compare it in my head. I know it's not going to taste the same. Like the green bean casserole is not going to taste like the one with the canned condensed mushroom, cream of mushroom gravy or whatever is in it. It's just nothing you make is going to taste like that. So you have to think, are you the type of person that is going to set that expectation for it to taste like the one that you're used to, and you're going to be disappointed if it doesn't? Because my husband's like that. He would rather just nix it and not have it rather than find a substitution and just cook something completely different that he knows that he's going to like. And I'm fine substituting. So evaluate yourself, evaluate your audience, and see what your best plan of action is.
So we're just letting everything saute for a little bit.
Can you hand me the spoon that I used for that garlic? Unless we are going to eat it again, I'm just going to use that to scoop so we're not making more dishes.
I'm going to slide some of this out of the way. Maybe we can get a better view of what Jill's doing.
Okay, so now I have cut the cubes in my sweet potato, and I'm just going to carefully scoop those out. And if you puncture the skin of your sweet potato, it's really okay. It's not that big of a deal.
Do we need to turn this down at all?
It just needs to cook until it's done. Just soft.
Mushrooms can probably get softer.
So I am not a talented potato scooper, so mine look a little rough, but.
Once you put all the stuffing in there, it'll look good.
Yeah, broke that one.
That's it. Well, and it said to cook them to where they're lightly softened, and we might have softened them just a little bit much. But I'd rather it more cooked than less cooked when it comes to a sweet potato.
That one's a goner.
It's okay, just use all the insides. So good to know for my mistake, I didn't think they were softened enough, so I added an extra 15 minutes to soften them some more. So maybe, even if you think they're still not quite soft enough, you might just go ahead and take them out.
Okay.
Or if you like soft sweet potatoes, just do what we do.
At the end of the day, you're gonna chew them up anyway, so this is just saving you some work. All right, so that is done.
All right, our mushrooms, looks like we got most of the moisture out, so I'm gonna go ahead and toss the onion that we chopped earlier in.
Okay, do you have a big food processor?
Oh shoot.
I don't know if they're all gonna fit in there.
It's broken.
Oh
I know.
no. Okay.
Let me see. Let's see if it'll work. I don't know. I think the problem is the lid won't close, and so it won't.
That's okay. We'll make it work. Where's the bigger cup? Is it this one?
Oh, this one.
This one. Oh, okay. Okay, so we are going to take a can of chickpeas. Where's your can of that? Oh. And our mushroom mixture, and we're going to pulse it in the food processor until it is chopped. We're just going to drain these and rinse them. The lazy way to rinse these is to put water in the can and then shake it and drain it again. I do that a few times. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to pour the mixture into the cup. then I'm gonna add half of a cup of fresh parsley, and then 1.5 teaspoons of poultry seasoning. And I'm gonna add a little bit of extra rubbed sage as well. And then maybe salt and pepper too. Maybe. Pepper. It's a giant thing. Oh. There we go. Okay, for our mushroom gravy, our onions, our mushrooms, and garlic are nice and sauteed. So I'm going to go ahead and add 3 tablespoons of whole wheat flour, 2 tablespoons of tamari sauce, you can also use coconut aminos, 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground white pepper, and 1/2 teaspoon of ground black pepper. Just a little bit of salt. And then I'm going to add 1/4 of a cup to 1/3 of a cup of vegetable broth. And you're just doing that until it's moistened. Okay, and I'm just going to add the sweet potato cubes into that mixture. And then I'm just going to stuff my potato skins with the mixture. And so now we're going to go ahead and slowly add in 2 cups of plant milk. It recommends an oat milk, so you'll want something that's kind of a thicker consistency. We're using a coconut cashew oat milk blend. Do we have that whisk? Okay, so now we are going to bake this at 400, just until everything is kind of nice and crispy and tender. So it's going to be about 20 minutes. about done. The mashed potatoes we make today, they're just going to be a basic mashed potato, but you could do like a take on loaded baked potatoes and put some green onions in there. You could make them taste more like a ranch potato and add like onion powder and dill.
Could add nutritional yeast for a
cheesy potato, yeah. There's lots of different options you can do. Okay, so I'm going to actually go ahead and get started on these potatoes. I'm going to add them back to this. So I'm just going to add our potatoes back here. Do you have a potato masher?
I do not. They're pretty soft though, huh?
Yeah.
Is a fork okay?
Yeah. I'm buying you a potato masher for Christmas.
Okay. What do you want? Is that help?
That's fine.
Okay. I can probably start in the mixer.
Ah. Oh, we can just do that then. So I don't have to do manual labor.
Okay.
So we've got our mixing bowl, and we're gonna add our potatoes back in there. We are going to add in our fresh parsley. We'll do a splash of the cashew milk and a splash of vegetable broth. You can always add more.
So I think that's probably our cornbread.
And where is our bouillon?
Oh, it is right here.
Oh. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit of that. And then I'm gonna blend.
Alright. There you go. So here is our mushroom gravy. We're gonna use that inside of our green bean casserole. So the green bean casserole, we looked at a couple different recipes, and we're kind of grabbing from a couple different ones and doing what we just think is best. So we'll see how it goes. First off, we're gonna use some canned French style cut green beans. And we're gonna go ahead and use the mushroom gravy instead of a creamy mushroom soup. Use about half of that. Let's see where we're at. Just mix it all together. And then instead of those crispy onions, we are going to top it with some sliced almonds, and those will get nice and brown as it bakes. So, got that all nice and mixed in there. And let me go ahead and put some almonds on top. And now I'm going to go ahead and bake it in the oven. I'll show you what it looks like. But here is our take on a green bean casserole. the green bean casserole is in, and now I think our last thing is the Brussels sprouts. Jill went ahead and whipped up our potatoes, so I will show you those. And we used Yukon Gold potatoes. Personally, those are my favorite for mashed potatoes. I just think they get super creamy and soft. So I prefer to use those instead of another potato, but you obviously could use any potato that you wanted. So here is our mashed potatoes, and of course, you could use the mushroom gravy on top of there as well. And of course, with the mushroom gravy, if you want it thicker or thinner, add a little more milk, add a little less of that plant-based milk. So let's go ahead and do our Brussels sprouts. Let me see. We might need, oh, I don't know if I showed you guys, but we pulled out our cornbread, so that is finished as well. I might just set it out here. Give kind of a Thanksgiving spread. The rest of our gravy in this bowl here. Okay. Alrighty. So I'm going to go ahead and use this pan here for our Brussels sprouts. Again, we're not going to use oil, so we'll go ahead and just turn it on medium-high heat and throw the Brussels sprouts in there and add water as we need to. And Brussels sprouts will cook down quite a bit, like a lot of your greens. So we do have 2 bags. It looks pretty full, but I'm going to go ahead and let those cook down a little bit, and then we'll... Okay, so we've got the Brussels sprouts going. I'm just going to clean off this spatula. Real quick, so I can use it again. Once our Brussels sprouts start going, I'm going to add some balsamic vinegar to them, and then I'm also going to add some garlic, of course, because I love garlic, and again, it's good for the immune system. And then we're also, I like kind of a sweet take on my Brussels sprouts, so we're going to add a little bit of maple syrup just to give it a little bit of a sweetness.
I'm just going to check on our stuff in the oven.
And of course, you can add whatever seasonings you like to your Brussels sprouts. Okay, so we went ahead and pulled our green bean casserole out of the oven, and also our stuffed sweet potatoes, and our Brussels sprouts are just finishing up. We added, that spatula got really hot, so I'm going to set that in there really quick. But we went ahead and added the maple syrup and the balsamic and some seasonings. Show you those. And then we'll go ahead and plate it. We've made a beautiful plate here. Okay, so I'll go ahead and show you guys the food.
Carry this over. Okay, so we have, let it focus. We have our Brussels sprouts, our green bean casserole, our mashed potatoes with the mushroom gravy, the stuffed sweet potatoes, and our cornbread. I'm gonna set y'all back over here.
So hopefully this gave you guys some really great ideas on ways that you can change up your Thanksgiving this year and feel like you're not missing out on the traditional stuff that we usually have.
So you can join us the week after next, not next week because that's Thanksgiving. And we're going to be talking about holiday sweet treats. So join us to make some of those. In the meantime, if you have any questions about anything we've done here, you can type it below in the comments or feel free to reach out to us through the messenger on Facebook, or you can call us at 221 Life. Thank you guys so much.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye.